Hello, everyone. So today we're gonna again. I saw a few raise of hands on Flutter. It almost looks like a sheep in a wolf's dungeon. So basically, don't jump on me too much. So this talk is also about Flutter, Firebase, and Supabase. Yeah. So I kind of will take you through a journey of No Wallet. Yeah. So what is, so first of all, who am I? I'm a CPO, CTO of a mobile development company. We build apps and we build apps for other companies as well as ourselves. We build the app No Wallet. I've been in the industry for some time. Also Google GDG London co-organizer or a lead there. So like to basically talk about stuff. So today we're going to look into Flutter and Firebase and Supabase, but we use that for a product called as No Wallet. Yep. So what is No Wallet? So it's an AI-based customer engagement loyalty program. Yeah. So it's a platform where people can actually gain loyalty points, etc., etc. And with the new, like I think the video that you shared, AI, it also has an AI in it. Yep. So what you do with this is basically easy sign up. You have NFC beacons and barcodes that you can use at different merchants, and then you collect points. Yeah, you can add and remove cards. So as a customer, you can actually have multiple cards on your wallet. Yeah, and then it also will have a buddy system where you can actually exchange points between merchants. So you got some points within Costa, and if Costa wants to share points with someone else, you could actually have something like that. Yeah. What it also does, why AI and why this is special, the differentiator is basically it actually helps merchant to automatically generate content for their campaigns. Yeah. So like a busy shop, they want to create a new campaign about let's say an Easter coffee. Yeah. So what it can do is it can understand what is the new theme and generate content based on that. Yeah. So that's the AI part of it. Yeah. So auto generate content, and from the customer perspective, understanding the behavior and give them relevant offers. So that's this product, and also does AI-based customer segmentation, etc., etc. Yeah. So that's that. This is how it looks like. So it has a dashboard, and so there's a background behind all this background story. So it has a dashboard and it has an app. Yeah. So on the dashboard, the merchants can actually check how many customers they have, what is the current campaigns they are running, and then from the app, a user can actually join different merchants and then generate points. Yep. So when we were thinking of building this app last year, yeah, there are some things we consider. Yep. And I think it may answer one of your questions that you asked before. Yep. So how should we build this app? What technology should I use? And one of the key factor here is basically I want to go to market fast and low cost. Yeah, because it was a startup. I want to support multiple devices, iOS and Android, but I want it to be deployed faster. Yeah, it has to go through the entire CI/CD, the whole process. Yeah, it should be scalable. I needed a dashboard on the web. It should be multilingual, maintainable, and control cost. So that's a basic thing which most of the people think like. But one of the factor here is basically fast go-to-market and low cost. Yeah. So considering that, we did the usual double diamond approach, discover, define. Yeah. So the UI, UX, and how it will fit in. Did some user research on what is the fastest navigation, faster journey to actually tap a card and get a point. Yeah. And the same for the merchant, how to create their campaigns. The first first designs were like this. Yeah. So a bit rough, but it worked. Yeah. So there's certain cards, user sign in, and then they can go to a particular store and then collect points. Yeah. So that took us, I think, 10 to 15 days to build. Yeah. Then we started thinking of developing it and pushing the design further. There are so many choices in the market. Yeah, we are kind of in a Android crowd. Yeah, as a sheep trying to. Yeah. So we got so many things to think about: Android, iOS, Windows. So it should be also working on web. Lots of back-end technologies and then front-end technologies. So we came with a choice of Flutter, Firebase, and Supabase. Supabase is so it is mainly Flutter Firebase, and then I think Supabase is taking over. So I'll take you through a journey what's happening there, yeah, and why. So Flutter, I think you mentioned it's a SDK. It has an exhaustive list of widget library. Yeah. So if you want something, there is a package available for that. So it's a very big exhaustive list of widget library. And one of the things that we wanted was basically this question that we had, it should support all the devices. Yeah, so which means iOS and Android and maybe web. So that's why we then chose React or Flutter. Yeah, so it was Flutter there. It provide, the next question was basically, database or backend. So we looked at Firebase. Firebase actually provided multiple SDKs for multiple platform, which is iOS, Android, web, C++, and everything else. Yeah, so it had that client SDK that we needed to create our backend. Yeah, that is kind of a very simple data model on a highest level. Yeah, so we had contacts, interaction, events, goals, and outcomes. So if someone is signing in, we are sending them a notification. If someone is doing some interaction with a merchant, we are then sending them kind of an email saying thank you, or on the birthdays, we are sending them a notification to come back and there's a special offer for you. So that's something happening in the background. Yeah, so that's kind of a big high-level data model of something that we needed. Yeah, as a schema. Yeah, so chose Firebase. Firebase is a backend as a service, BaaS. Yeah, there are other options available. Yeah, but we thought Firebase is leading, and then it's literally a turnkey solution, where till now, with 3 customers live, we haven't paid a single penny. Yeah, they have the card. It's a Blaze plan, but it does not. Haven't taken any money from us. Yeah. So it's a leading backend as a service. There are others if you guys are thinking about using something else, and there's Supabase also in the list. Yeah. So I talked about backend. So the backend team is like, okay, we need to build some backend. What should we do? There is an option of using local database, which is SQLite. You could actually build custom APIs and then use HTTP. You then use Firebase or Supabase. Yeah, so we are using a combination of Firebase and Supabase. Yeah, for our data model or of data storage. Then if you saw the app, it actually needed authentication. So users should be authenticated. Also, if you saw, some of the cards are very rich, yeah, in terms of the behavior. And we have a requirement to actually take invoices from the customer so that they can actually collect point or later. Yeah. So we needed authentication, database, storage, and messaging. Yeah, which is we are trying to send them notification. So for authentication, we are using Supabase Auth. Yeah. Again, it's similar to Firebase. There's no difference. It's an identity as a service. It supports all the IDPs, even the custom one, OAuth. Who is using Supabase or heard of Supabase? Okay, yeah, few. So the marketing is it's a replacement for Firebase. Yeah, and I was very skeptic. Yeah, so for a while we actually were using Firebase, and then we flipped to Supabase. Yeah, so it supports email and password, and it was an easy flip to Supabase. Yeah, so you just can transfer everyone. So if someone re-logins, and then the same thing can happen that was happening in Firebase. Yeah, it gives you an auth token. It also have this functionality where you could actually use multiple providers, like someone signing from Google, Twitter, or Apple, and then it merges the contacts. Yeah, so that is also completely out of the box. It's kind of a very true backend as a service. Then when I showed you the schema, you saw some kind of a relationship there. Yeah, we got contacts has interactions, interaction has some goals, etc., etc. So our first option was to go to Firebase. Firebase is a NoSQL style database which has collection, and a collection has a document, and document can have collections, and So it became kind of a bit difficult to kind of think of when we were doing a multi what you call multi-organization structure or multi-merchant structure, where there's a merchant and there's customers for the merchant, the customers were getting points, and then there's another merchant and there's the same user and getting points. So we're kind of like, if you are in the NoSQL world, you have to duplicate a lot of data there, yeah, because it's almost like merchant, contact, interaction, merchant 2, same contact, interaction, then merchant 3, same contact, interaction. So if you are making a call of how many points a user has collected throughout this thing, you are kind of trying to go within the document into a collection to get that thing out. So then we consciously took a decision to flip to Supabase, which is it's a Postgres database, which is a SQL style database. Yeah. So we get the power of SQL. It supports remote procedure calls, RPC. And what enticed me, or one of the reasons why we chose that, it actually supports something called as row level security. Yeah. There is that type of security in Firebase also, yeah, where you can do document level security, but this is like literally someone who is authorized to actually write something onto a database is the only one who can write to a database. And that translates upwards towards RPC also. So someone who is authorized to call the RPC, which means our app, are the only ones who will be calling the RPC. Yeah, your RPC can also translate to an API. Yeah, so you're writing so let's say you have an API, or so you have an RPC called as get cards. Yeah, and that becomes an API automatically. So that's an endpoint now. Yeah, and then since you have a auth mechanism between your app and the RPC, it's automagic. Yeah, so it can auto-generate APIs on fly. So a lot of tick in the boxes. It also automatically handles offline data, and it is what you call cloud crawler. Yeah, so you can push it across multiple cloud locations, yeah, across the world. Yeah, so CDNs. Okay, so that's another tick in the box. Then since we started the project from Firebase. For app distribution, we are using Firebase app distribution, so which is basically sending the apps to the testers to test, and also for publishing. And then we turned on Google Analytics because it's a product-led growth, to make sure that we understand who is using the app, where is the app being used mostly, etc., etc. So turning on Google Analytics there. Yeah. It also gives us, so I talked about segmentation, auto segmentation. So it also gives us all the users so that we can segment the users. So someone who actually have added their date of birth, like, let's say January, yeah, then we can target it by creating a user segment and then send them notifications saying, hey, it's your birthday today. Would you like to go to have a, so if Lola was one of our customers, then you would be going to Lola to get a free Lola cake. Yeah. So that's we are using that. So Supabase supports cloud messaging, but we actually are kind of using in between now. So we are using Firebase cloud messaging, yeah, which is basically notification across all the devices, which uses a single FCM token. And then once the FCM token is there, yeah, you send it out for all the users who have either logged in once or ever downloaded an app. Yeah. When I said we are using a mix of it, so if you saw, our database is in Postgres. Yeah, so our users are in Postgres. So send them notification across another provider, which is Firebase messaging. We kind of are using the SDK. Yeah, so we are using the Firebase cloud messaging SDK and so a little bit TypeScript to actually send that. So we segment the users and then we send them the message using FCM. Yeah. The last bit is basically every app needs it. There are a lot of third-party software like Bug Finder and everything else, but we are using Firebase Crash Analytics to capture anything that is happening as a crash on the app. You can actually have multiple stack trace of exactly what was happening in the app, and then you can export the logs for the developers. Yeah. So a lot of backend as a service. Yeah. So you see, like if I map the Firebase feature list, so the ones which have the Supabase icons have been moved to Supabase, and the rest of them. So these are all the things that Firebase provide, but the ones which are in white are the ones that we are using. Yeah, we may not have an appetite to use the rest. Yeah, but I think we kind of are moving a little bit more towards Supabase. Yeah. Okay. So this talk also had a little bit AI in it, no? Yeah. So it's like, okay, I know this. This almost looks like a Firebase Supabase marketing talk. So if I spoke about this, so that's our dashboard. It has, like, nowadays every other app that you have seen, like, if you are using a code editor, you see AI suggested code or whatever. We also have a feature where it says AI suggested offers or campaign creation. Yeah, so it creates a campaign. And you can segment user by their age or create a new offer automatically behind the scenes, and then the merchant can just promote the offer, which is content. And then it can actually says, well, actually, if you have a multi-tiered loyalty campaign, we have seen the other campaigns running. That was more successful, so this campaign would be more successful for you. So why don't you try this, A/B test that? Yep. So I kind of took it from a workshop I just recently did, which is Firebase, Supabase, OpenAI. So this is a sample which the Supabase DevRel has created. Yeah, it's a movie recommendation app. The concept is the same. I don't want to show you the code for the app ourselves, but it's the same concept where it actually uses OpenAI with Supabase to create a recommendation for movies. Yep. There's a barcode for the article from Tyler. Yeah, from Tyler, and you can follow that. I'm gonna cheat a little bit, just like the chef. Yeah, so I'm gonna do a quick one. I have some ingredients ready, so I'm gonna just switch around. Yeah, I'm gonna sit for that. Yeah. So let's see. And finger crossed, it works. Live coding. I thought it's a dev audience, no? You sent me an email saying this is a dev audience, Sumit. Okay. So some Flutter guys, not many Flutter guys. So I'm going to quickly, so it's, as Renuka said, it's a demo code, so it's not like a pattern that you should be using if you're building a production-ready corporate app. Yeah, but there's a folder called as lib. It has multiple folders, one for data, one for model, one for pages or screens, and widget. Yeah, I think during my talk when we were talking about Flutter has a huge widget library, so a lot of people actually create their own widgets. And if you are an organization like Money Supermarket, and if you have multiple teams working on it, you can create like a widget library within the team so that they can actually follow the same design guidelines. Yeah, so that's kind of a Flutter thing. Yeah, so okay. I think, am I on the right branch? Okay, we are on the right branch. So starting point of a Flutter app is the main. Yeah, so you start from main, you then have kind of a widget. So what this is currently doing, you guys can see it, yeah? Yep, you guys. So what it's doing is basically it has an app which has a headline and some kind of widget like a container, which is a home page, yeah? Run, start that. While it is running, yeah. What it is trying to do is basically so what it's trying to do is it has a home page, it has an app bar, and then it's looking for some films. Yeah. If the films is empty, it's going to say no movies. If the films are there, it's going to show you some films. Yeah. So let's see if I'm able to run it, live demo. Yep. So we got like an app which is kind of an empty, no films. Yep. So while you are building an app, even for prototype, one of the things I do is basically like MVVM, MVP, MVC kind of approach. So you got a model, yeah, model has some films, The films is it takes a JSON object and then translate that into a film. Does like a mapping between an ID to an ID field returned from a JSON. So that's all it is doing. What I do is basically I sometimes have a dummy data, so I can test it, and I can actually use that for testing also. If you are testing an app with some data, how will it look like? So without touching any backend. So for this, I prepared my next ingredient, which is some dummy data. Yep. Okay. Save that. Just quickly going through that. So it has some ID, title, some information. It's like a dummy data, dummy JSON object. Yep. Saving that, reloading the app. Hopefully, I get a list of movies here. Save later. Yep. Okay, we got a list of movies. Then what we have is basically a details page. So when you click on it, it actually goes to a details page. If you see, so we have some content here. So the recommendation engine, what it's supposed to do is basically read this content, and then based on this content, it's going to recommend some other movies for you. You could actually use it as like if someone has created any comments on it, saying it's an action movie or whatever, and then use that. So there is some list, but it's the exact same list as what you're seeing here. So it's you may like and some list there. So that's my dummy data. I got a skeleton up and running. I'm just going to quickly take a minute or two to run through the code. What's happening there? So main.dart has a home page. Home page has some movies. It's a list of movies. List of what? A list of a film cell. It takes a film as a parameter, and then it has a, when you click on it, on tap, navigates to a details screen. So that's a details page. It also has a hero. So in Flutter, what happens is like you have kind of an animation between two objects. It's a hero animation. So you can actually map it by saying it's a hero model, and the child is a hero. So this nice little animation of, if I scroll a little bit here, you see that thing that transitioned. The fly in. That's what this thing is doing. The hero model. Okay. And then you have the decoration with the movie title and blah 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 blah. So you got it. The last bit to quickly look into is the details page. No magic there. It is again a normal app with a app bar with a title, a hero, which is where it is supposed to pin with an image, and then some text about the movie, the release date, and then we have a you may also like component, which is a recommendation component, and then children with some related movie data. So that's what it is, and this is another. We can tap on it, and it's a fractionally sized box, with the same cell that we had before, in a list in a square boxes. So that's what you can see over here. Oh, sorry, not that. This, So you can click and you can go in and in and in and in. So that's a simple app. So going back to my slides. You can follow this thing in this article if you want to. So we got kind of a skeleton ready. We have an idea what we are trying to do. We are trying to build a recommendation system. So again, Supabase. So before I jumped into Supabase, for this to happen, we need some place where we can store the content as maths. Yeah, and the content as maths in an AI term is called as embeddings. Okay, so a process of converting a piece of content into vector, yeah, is called as embeddings in the machine learning AI term. Yeah, so what you are doing is you are trying to analyze the semantic of the content mathematically. What does that mean is basically if you look at the distance between two embeddings, you see how they are similar. Example, you have a king and a queen, a man and a woman. Yeah, so you see the distance between them and see is the king a man, a woman a queen. Yeah, so that's embeddings. And then similar to that, you have walking, walked, and then swimming and swam. Yeah, so that's how they do embeddings in the space of AI and vector. Yep. And then there's a lot more example. So for that, we need a place to store that information. Okay, to store that information, when we were researching it, Supabase has a feature called as vector database. Yeah, so Supabase supports vector database. It's a Postgres vector database with an AI toolkit. Yeah, so our inclination went to use Supabase with that. Yeah, so that's the one which supports vector. But to convert the content into math, we needed something. Yeah, and the answer for that was OpenAI. Yeah, so OpenAI provides a trained model. Yeah, where you're converting text into embeddings, the math, and then we're storing that math into Supabase, and then Supabase can give me the nearest one to the content that we have provided. Make sense, kind of? Yep. Yeah, and one of the things when you look at the documentation of OpenAI, it talks about what is embedding and when can you use it. Recommendation, where items are with related strings are part of your recommendation. So a good use case that fit our requirement. Okay, there were a lot of other choices for using vector database, but we chose Supabase. Supabase is also very cheap. Yeah, so it's still like you're still paying for it, but it's cheap. Yeah, it's not free as Firebase till now, but it's cheaper. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, before I jumped into code, so so the steps that we had to do now. Yeah, so we saw that we have the data which is JSON. It looks like title and so and so. So we need to populate the database of some movie data and its embeddings. Yeah. So what we will do is basically within the database, whenever there's an insert or when there's a new movie, yeah, we actually call, so to fill in the data, I'm using TMDB, the movie database, yeah, to get all the movies which are latest. Then we are using OpenAPI to get the movie data and generate the embeddings from them. Yeah, so using the same content sent to OpenAI and get back information. So once we have it, we are just displaying it in the Flutter app. Yeah, so Flutter app is not doing much. It's just basically displaying this thing. To do that, Supabase supports something called as an edge function, which is similar to your functions in Firebase. Yeah, so you have an edge function. It actually makes a call to TMDB, the movie API, get the movie. The content is then sent to OpenAI. You get what? Anyone paying attention? Embeddings. You then use the embeddings, you store the data into the database, and then Flutter app. So that's what we're going to try. Yeah, maybe it will work. Yeah, let's see. Okay, cool. So I'm going to switch to the Supabase version of the code. I'm kind of again, Supabase supports this thing called as create locally and push it, which means your database as a code or database as a source control, which is also good. Yeah. So Supabase has its own CLI. So like if you see one of the commands over there, I'm just saying Supabase. Yeah. So you use npm to install Supabase CLI. Okay. Once you have installed Supabase CLI, you can do a DB sync. Yeah. So you connect to your offline database. So to create function, just like Firebase, you use TypeScript. So we have functions over here. Yeah, you can say Supabase create function name. It will create a function. Yeah, then using TypeScript, you will actually create a function called as, in this case, in this case get films. Yeah. So TypeScript, you guys are aware of TypeScript? Yes, kind of. Yeah. So it's a type-safe language, which means you can create an interface. So this is an interface that we saw on the app anyway. So film ID number and the release date, blah blah. Then what you can do is basically don't keep your keys in a function or something like that. So use an environment variable. So we have a Supabase URL, which is the server URL, and then you have the TMDB API key in the environment file, and then you have the OpenAI key. Yeah. So to actually use OpenAI as an API, you have to pay them $12. Yeah. So you have to pay them, yeah, so they can actually consume their content. Then what it does is basically it makes a call to OpenAPI using some search terms. Yeah, api.tmdbmovie.org. So the thing that is calling, it's discover endpoint with a movie and the parameter, which is 2024 or 2023, and then it returns something. Yeah. So if everything is good, then you make a call to OpenAI API, yeah, and says give me the embeddings. Okay. I'm mostly interested in there are at least 12 different types of embedding model, yeah, like the data set, the model that they use. So this is text embedding ADA002, yeah, which is a bit more precise, especially for content and recommendation. So when you say what is used for recommendation, basically that's what you need to do. So that's the one you are calling. And then then whatever is the response, you are then adding into Supabase. Yeah. So somewhere here, I will then save it to Supabase. Yeah. So I got the embeddings, yeah, here. So Supabase from the database upsert this thing. Yeah. So it's an upsert, so it actually uses ID as a primary key, and if it's already there, it will insert it. Yeah. So just quickly look into how Supabase is looking like right now. Before the demo, I emptied it. So the films are empty. Okay. So cross fingers. So I'm deploying this function, yeah, the Supabase function I did to, this is my Supabase URL, yeah, to see what it is basically this thing on top. This is my project ID. Yeah. Okay. So okay. So you can actually do all the functions also. Supabase deploy function deploys all the function, or Supabase deploy a particular function. It did it. It actually then also gave me an endpoint that I can call. Yeah. So I actually have something prepared. So what it is doing is basically either using, like you can use Postman or any other kind of API test tool. So curl post that endpoint, yeah, gave me the movies, which is year 2024. Yeah, I think in the function I have page number 1 only. So it will give you the first 10 or 20 movies from that 2024. Then basically the bearer token, you need the authentication token and everything else, yeah, and then call that function. Yeah, so that's all we are doing. Yeah. So when I run this, it actually does 2 things: goes to TMDB, gets the movie, goes to OpenAPI, gets the embedding, and then let's see if this actually has worked. So if I click on the films again, I got all the films. Yeah, yeah, and within the films, oops, did I close it? Yeah, sorry. So within the films, I also have the embeddings saved. Yeah, it's a lot of maths between the thing. Yeah, so using Supabase, I said it's a vector database. Yeah, so the next step to do here is actually to create an index on those embeddings. Yeah, so create an index on the films. Yeah, it uses HNSW. Yeah, and then the operations. Yeah, so we actually run this. If it is not been created, it is. Yeah, So what it is doing is basically creates an embedding, and then I want to now, so I'm creating a new function or a new store procedure in the language of SQL, which then goes in and says select star from films where embeddings is not equals to get related embeddings, so which is basically excluding me and then something close to me, give me that, all the films. Okay, so that's something I would like to use. So this is kind of my endpoint or an API that I will be calling get related films to show the related films in the app. Okay, Supabase done. I think we got all the movies that we wanted. Let's see what is out there. So the Flutter app is still using some dummy data. Okay. I need a bigger font of this. I can't see anything. Okay, so I have installed Supabase already as a package. So you first thing to do is basically add Supabase as a package for your app. Once you have done this, basically what happens is the app then needs to initialize Supabase. So in main.dot, I commented out a code which is initialize Supabase. So generally I keep it like that, where I create like a separate file, because then you can use DI, dependency injection, to actually flip around with something else. So initialize Supabase is simple. It has a key, a URL, and then if it is not set, gives an error, but in the end it actually does a supabase.initialize using the key, and that's simple. So it's a singleton that will be used across the app. Okay, so now so I kind of suggest everyone to use environment variable, but I will cheat. I'll actually copy this, which is my key, and this is the time when the recording should be off. So that's my key. So I kind of am now initializing using the keys that I have for the app. Because it's a singleton, for us to connect to Supabase, we have to restart the app, because app didn't know anything about it. So I'm going to stop and start again. Hopefully that step works. So I'm going to continue. Then I need to, let's see if it worked or not. So app didn't crash. It's still using the old data, empty data. So the next thing to do is basically go back into my VS Code. And if you remember, in the home page, we are actually fetching the movie from the dummy data. I replaced this piece of code. So no longer that. So it's saying I don't know what you're talking about Supabase. So I'm going to say, okay, Supabase is a library that we imported using pub spec YAML that has been sorted. The model is not there. I'm going to add the model. Okay, so we got a future from Supabase. So it's saying, okay, it's an async call to Supabase, select from films, and then convert that into a model. Okay. Now the next step is to basically display that. Why do I see this all the time? Okay, so I'm going to change the body. Body was a list builder with film cells. So same thing, but I need to use a future. So this is my body. Body says I don't know anything about the film. So I'm just going to change that. And so body is using a future builder now. If it takes time, it's going to show some progress bar. If it has an error, it's going to show some error. Otherwise, it's going to show the movies which we just stored using double call from the database. Yeah, save. Voila. Yeah. So this went back, got the things from the Supabase. Again, quick, no, it wasn't too difficult. Yeah, and then we got all the movies from the database. Yeah. When I click on it, it's still showing older recommendation because still using the dummy data. The dummy data is in the details file, so I think we just have 5 more minutes. If you want to do more, I can extend my talk. No? Okay. So now we are in the details page, yeah, and details page also uses the dummy data. Yeah. Okay. So we go back, and yeah, that's how it should look like. So what we'll do is basically we actually will change the init state. Yeah. So when you actually enter the page, which is a details page, we make a call to Supabase, so over here. Yeah. So again, late, final, related, future. Yeah, because it's a late, you have to initialize the late thing. Yeah, because Flutter say, oh, you know what, it's a null safe. I don't know what you're talking about. So in the init state, I'm saying related film Supabase. Remember, we created this new function. Yeah, get related films, which actually compares the embeddings now. Yep. And then it's saying use the current film embedding as a parameter, and then the film ID. Yeah. So these are the 2 parameters that it is taking. It says Supabase doesn't exist, so I'm going to add it to my thing. So that looks good. Now what we need to do is basically find where we are showing, which is this container. Yeah. Change this wrap to the future builder. Save this. I actually have to just going to restart this. Okay, let's go back to the simulator. So what is a new movie nowadays?
June.
What's that?
June. June 2.
June 2.
June should offer you to show the June 2.
June 2. Yeah. Okay. Well, it says the recommended movies with that goes like No Way Up and Kung Fu Panda and blah blah blah. So that's it. Thank you. As I said, this article is there if you want to play around with. Yeah, like I was playing with Barbie, and actually it was close to that. I was expecting, the Barbie and open Barbie kind of thing, like it will give me that, but no, it wasn't even close.
I think you need more than 1 page of movies.
Yeah, to actually come back with this. Okay, so the last slide is kind of a summary slide where, so we opted Flutter, Firebase, and Supabase because we thought Flutter is a multi-platform, 1 code, 2 deployments. Yeah, we don't need 2 teams. So single code base, Firebase because it's a beautiful BAS, backend as a service. You're not paying too much, for this thing, and then it facilitates analytics and everything else out of the box. Supabase is a pay-as-you-go, so it's again not too much on the bank. So your pricing is based on how much you consume. Good enough support. Sometimes it goes down. And then we are actually using SQL authentication and the vector database and APIs. These are the 3 things that kind of is so a quick app in the App Store. A lot of consumers start using it, and then you can easily eventually grow. Yeah. So thanks for listening. Any questions? And
Yeah, so when you show the movies, the vectors and the embeddings are quite simple. But then when you're thinking about real products, then closest vector to fridge is another fridge. So how do you approach this? Like, saying like when someone bought a fridge, you would not recommend another fridge to buy.
that's a kind of a, so the recommendations are two types of recommendations. Basically, one is if someone bought something or someone viewed something. Yeah. So someone viewed something, then you will actually like to find more fridges which are around that space. Yeah. Or someone bought something is basically an exclusion in the bought criteria. So it's the same thing as for us. Mostly when we are in this space of loyalties and everything else, we know that you like cappuccino, or I don't know what you like. Yeah. So maybe. Yeah. So it's more beneficial for us to actually suggest you an Easter cappuccino or the Christmas cappuccino, yeah, rather than something which excludes that. Yeah, so this is just a condition within the where clause where you say vector closer or vector further away. Yeah, so that's
Just a
yeah,
function of
that's a function.
the actual
Yeah.
recommendation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have a question. The embedding, that's specific to the model, yeah? So
Yes, model, yeah.
So you map what's in your embedded database
Data
and
set.
maps to that specific model. So if you change your model, you need to change the embedding.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then using Edge, so Supabase has Edge functions, or you can create a cron job, which actually goes through your entire data set and then redo the embeddings. Yeah. So embeddings is basically that piece of content been converted into math. Yeah. And then that is plotted across all the maths. So it's basically a big graph of where. So this point, the regression in AI. So basically, where does it fall in the regression when you're doing it? Yeah. But then you offload all of that to OpenAI or any other service. In fact, after we've gone through that, and then Google recently announced Gemini, and I was like, damn it. I could actually then switch the whole thing and start using Gemini, because Gemini is a bit more powerful. And it actually has exactly the same thing. So when you look at Gemini, what it can give is basically you can use it for recommendation, content recommendations, and buying behavior, etc., etc. So that's a use case for Gemini also.
Have you submitted to the app stores, and have you had any issues related to Flutter from, in terms of app store rejection
No,
or UI
no,
or
no.
anything like that?
So this app is live. Yeah, it's actually, yeah. This app is live in 3 stores. Hopefully we get to 300, 400 stores soon. Yeah, so it is live in 3 stores with around, I would say, 1,200, 1,300 customers. Yeah, so the people who are visiting the store and actually changed the entire store. So store was a small store which was using the old way of working with the client. With this app, what they are able to do is basically understand who it is. So saying, hey, and then able to serve them better. And then I think they like the whole automated offer generation, because a lot of people who are behind the counter are busy, yeah, and they don't have time to create campaigns. They don't have a huge.
You mean like Apple and Google
I
Store?
meant app store rather
App
than...
stores. Not stores as in like... not
Yeah. So and also it's live, yeah, so it's on the stores, yeah. And they don't think of, so it does not create anything different when you're creating a Flutter app. Like it's the same when you write an Xcode code or Android code, yeah. So it's an APK or this, so you just publish it. So this, I don't think it's an easy way to find which apps are Flutter apps or which are done natively. Yeah, our requirement why we went to Flutter was basically, or not React Native, yeah, was basically support for beacons. Yeah, so it has NFC and beacon functionality, and we needed something that is close to kind of a native than a web. Yeah, so that's one of the things. Okay, yes.
Have you found any limitations with Flutter? And if you have, how have you had to work around?
Till now, I didn't find much limitation apart from like we were scared of the library for Bluetooth LE. Yeah, and there's a lot of things around Go native. Yes, if you want to, and if there is one, if it's not, yeah, if there is one, then you basically do a bridge between the native and Flutter. So there's always that thing that you can go native. Yeah, so there's nothing stopping you go native and then use that. Yeah, so let's say it could be a future requirement where we wanted to actually use beacons for close proximity. That could be one of the things we may go native, but Flutter supports like some bits of native and then everything else Flutter. The reason, again, like this UI, if you noticed, was easily achievable on Flutter. Yeah, it's not like it's a very fancy UI with cards popping out when you are closer to the store. So it's very easily achievable, and it's all widget library, so we can actually just work on a particular piece. Yeah.
Have you considered Kotlin multi-platform?
Yes, and that's what I was saying. And we need to, but again, it's so when as a tech person, CTO, your mind is around when you're thinking of Kotlin multi, are you able to find resources or not? Yeah, so if you have a team who is Android, then basically continue with the journey from Android to Kotlin multi-platform. If you have a team who are kind of mix, because Flutter supports, or the mindset of Flutter is very close to React, which is widget or component-based architecture. Yeah, you're creating components and components and components. Yeah, it's an easy shift from, so my front-ender who is a React guy, it's easy for him to understand Flutter. Yeah, because it's always very close to, very much, it's like 90% close to React. Uses the same idea of Redux and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, why not? It's, yeah. Go.
One last question.
So I was wondering, like, what are the differences between AWS Amplify and Firebase? And then why don't you completely move to Supabase? Because it looks like you already are doing that. Like, yeah, just I would love to understand, because you showed Amplify, because they also seem to have
exactly. Yep.
So what would be, like, any advantage of being on Google?
Well, it was, so the prototype started from there. Yeah, so the quick prototype 15, like what they call as design sprint. Yeah, so the quick prototype was all Firebase, Flutter. We actually started showing it to the stores, what you are going to get. Yeah, so it's kind of not exactly a tech problem. It is basically an MVP go-to-market problem. Yeah, so to build something which is actually presentable. Yeah. And so everything went to Firebase, and then every time there was a limitation, we're trying to find alternative. Yeah, which means that the tech guys started thinking of moving towards a SQL style database, and SQL style database, Postgres was out of the box. AWS could have been, it actually supports Postgres, but then Supabase is a lot more backend as a service, especially around Postgres. They invested a lot of money and time. And then the tech guys started picking up Supabase very quickly. It's like literally create a new user and they start using it. Yeah, so it went towards Supabase. So I think Supabase is still new, which means FCM. Like we needed a lot of notification, and we tried Supabase notification. It is there. It didn't work. Yeah. So we then kept the notification. That's why we actually had to create another layer where we are actually sending it from our function to Firebase notification, and Firebase notification is sending all the notifications. Yeah. Again, tech problem, resourcing problem, where why not AWS? AWS could have been more cheaper. Supabase also has this thing where when I was showing it to you, it can actually write everything locally. Yeah, so you're doing everything locally, and then you can publish it, which means you can host locally. So you can take the entire Supabase Postgres database and then go complete AWS. No stoppage. Edge function could be one of the reasons where I would like to keep it there, but then AWS also supports it. Yeah, so it's just people. It's a people problem, not a tech problem. This is solvable.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, and thank you for hosting.